Welcome to the Baylor Lariat Student Government Debates, produced in collaboration with Baylor Lariat TV News. I am Sarah Gill, your moderator for this debate between the candidates for internal vice president at Baylor. Let's introduce you to the candidates for this position. Piper Latham is a sophomore from Birmingham, Alabama. Matt Cole is a junior from the Woodlands, Texas. Now let's introduce the panelists for this debate. Nate Smith is representing Baylor Lariat TV News, and we have Matthew Muir representing the Baylor Lariat. The rules are as follows. Candidates will have 30 seconds for an opening statement, and they will proceed in an order determined by random draw. That opening statement will be followed by a series of questions. Candidates will have 45 seconds to answer the same question. If they are called out by name by another candidate, they will have 30 seconds for a rebuttal. Each candidate will have 45 seconds for a closing statement. Let's get started with our opening statements. Ms. Latham will go first.
I am running for internal vice president because I have truly found my home at Baylor, and I want every single student that steps onto our campus to feel the same way. I believe our university is an incredible institution, but there are areas where we can improve. I've heard students' issues about diversity and inclusion and campus safety, and I'm going to continue listening and advocating on students' behalf. So I just want to say to the student body, let's work together and leave behind a legacy that we truly are proud of.
Mr. Cole, you have 30 seconds for your opening statement.
Hi guys, my name is Matt Cole, and I'm running for the position of internal vice president. So in the past 3 years, I've been involved with student government, and during that time, I've been able to develop a deep passion for advocating on behalf of students' needs in order to better our Baylor campus together. So if I was elected, I will work to increase communication between students and administration, continue my support of campus improvements, and enact policies to pursue student wellness. Because of my deep level of experience as a student leader and my clear goals, I believe that I'm the best candidate to be your internal vice president.
Now we're moving on to the questions. Each candidate will be asked the same question and have 45 seconds to answer. The first question is on the topic of candidate experience.
Mr. Cole, how do you think that your leadership experience and involvement at Baylor have prepared you to serve as IVP?
I think specifically in my time in student government, I've gone through a lot of bills that have worked with all sorts of people around campus, all sorts of communities, and that's given me the perspective of understanding not what just one part of our campus needs, but what a lot of different people need. I've gained experience meeting with faculty and actually getting things done. And then I've gained experience working with people and being able to make compromises and listen to people's needs so that I can actually work with policies to help people, not just policies that I feel strongly about. And then finally, I've worked in a lot of leadership experience outside of student government, like in student foundation and as a community leader. So I think I have the experience in order to manage people, which is going to be very important as the internal vice president, as they're in charge of the Senate.
Ms. Latham, how do you think that your leadership experience and involvement at Baylor have prepared you to serve as IVP?
I want to talk a little bit specifically about my experience in student government. Student government, I am involved in a lot of different areas on campus, but student government is my number one focus. And I have served as a senator for 2 years, and that is less time than Matt has served, but I think that it is important to just fit as much time, like as much as I can into what I have so far. And so I've served on Senate Executive Council this year, and I really think that I have written several different bills, so I'm very familiar with all areas of the Senate, so I feel like I am prepared to take that on, and I'm ready to serve.
The second question is on the topic of student resources.
Ms. Latham, how do you plan to make resources readily available to students and inform them of options they have to ensure their academic or personal success?
Okay, so one thing that student government currently does is they put on a week for mental health, and that showcases all of Baylor's mental health resources that we have on campus, and it really allows students to just become aware of them. And I would like to implement this further for different areas of campus, for things like the academic resources that we offer and tutoring, and I also would like to implement for things like food insecurity and host like a food insecurity week, and so that every student is aware of all the things that Baylor has to offer. We truly have so many different things to make students experience on campus as success, and I want to make sure that they are all completely aware of everything that we have for them.
Mr. Cole, how do you plan to make resources readily available to students and inform them of options they have to ensure their academic or personal success?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the main things that I want to be focusing on if elected is increasing communication between administration and between students. So I think it's super important. I think student government has a really important role as standing as kind of the bridge in between what administration, the resources they have available, and then giving that out to students. Ideally, I think that there should be no student who is in a position where there's a resource that could help them that they don't know about. And so I think student government should engage in more concerted marketing efforts, whether that's digital or word of mouth, and use our resources to really spread as far as we can into campus. We have the ability to be a voice, and I think that means being a voice for everyone. So being specific and being intentional about how we're communicating is really important with that.
The third question is on the topic of diversity and inclusion.
Mr. Cole, how will you make yourself available when it comes to hearing issues on campus diversity and inclusion and making sure that every student's voice is heard?
Yeah, so I think this is super important. As Student Senate exists to be a voice for all students, that we should never be lacking in the voices that we're hearing. We should never just be hearing from one part of the community. So one specific thing that I want to do as internal vice president is go and have the senators go and meet with specific organizations around campus that may not have senators that represent them directly like in the Senate. So this can mean just going to people's clubs and hearing their problems or hearing what they need to see around campus, going and finding the people in Baylor's campus that might be marginalized and not represented well in Senate currently, and being specific about asking them, what do you want to hear? Because when we hear their voices, we're better able to make policies to help them, and we're better to able to make policies that are going to make Baylor better for everyone.
Ms. Latham, how will you make yourself available when it comes to hearing issues on campus diversity and inclusion and making sure every student's voice is heard?
This is a topic that is very important to me. This past year in Senate, I worked on an ad hoc committee for diversity and inclusion, and we actually established a permanent committee on our Senate that is solely focused on diversity and inclusion. And I, as IVP, I would utilize this new committee, we have no precedent for it yet, to go to student orgs and reach out to them so we can hear their voices. And the goal of this committee is so that we can have better representation in student government. But until we can make those changes to have better representation, I want to make sure that I am actively engaging those organizations so that I can hear the issues that are important to them.
The fourth and final question is on the topic of student engagement.
Ms. Latham, how will you bridge the gap between students' voices and the Baylor administration so that the student body's voice is heard?
I think the first step to that is I actually have to go to students and hear what their ideas are. I think student government a lot of times does really well on the administration side and meeting with administration, but ultimately our role is to engage the students. And so I want to, student government currently does things like polling on Fountain Mall and sending out surveys, and I want to increase that. I want people to feel like they can walk right into my office and tell me any idea that they have, so that when I do meet with administration, I will know students' concerns and I will know the changes that they want to see on campus. And ultimately, I think that's the side that we're lacking in, is engaging the students. And so I want to hear their ideas and voice them.
Mr. Cole, how will you bridge the gap between students' voices and the Baylor administration so that the student body's voice is heard?
So in my 3 years of Senate, one of the biggest problems that I have seen is that the population of people who are actually able to lead as senators is not representative of the population of people around our campus and the people that have things that they want to see happen around campus. And our Baylor campus is so full of diverse ideas and diverse people that this is really a shame. And so one of my main things I want to do as IVP is fix this. And so this, as we've kind of talked about, this directly means listening to students and asking people who are not represented in Senate, being active about asking them what they want to see happen. Because if all we have are the people who are fortunate enough to be elected to senators, if all we have is their voices, we're never going to have the full picture. So we have to be active to the other people.
That concludes our questions. We will now move on to the closing statements. Ms. Latham, you may begin.
I just want to say thank you so much to everyone that tuned in to watch this debate. I have really had fun sharing my passions for how I want to make changes on our campus. And I just want you to know if there's anything I've touched on today, want me to expand, please reach out to me. Also, if you have a new idea, I would love to hear that as well. Your ideas, your passions, your concerns are the most important thing to me. And I just want to leave you with this. My campaign slogan is Lead with Latham. And I know that's a silly, just fun, catchy phrase, but I really stand behind those words. This is not my time in student government. This is our time. And so I just want you to take that to heart. Let's lead together and let's make change on our campus.
Mr. Cole, you have 45 seconds.
Yeah, I want to echo what Piper was saying, and as well, I want to thank the Lariat and Sarah and Nate and Matthew for putting this on. Senate exists and has the ability to be such an important part of Baylor life. They can act as the bridge between students and administration. They can act as the voice for students. And as internal vice president, I really want to make sure that that mission is not just something that we say, but it's something that actually exists. And so first, I'm glad that I was able to kind of share that today on this call. And because of my experience in Senate, I kind of have an understanding of how best to make that happen. And I have the ideas to make that happen. So I think that I'm the best candidate to be your next internal vice president.
To close, I would like to thank our panelists and the candidates for participating in this debate. I would also like to remind the viewers that voting will be this Thursday and Friday online. Head on over to www.baylor.edu/student_government to cast your vote. The Baylor Lariat and Lariat TV News encourage you to cast your vote in the student government elections. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm Sarah Gill.